This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is March 16th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne, as always, I am joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke. What's up?
Orlando Magic. Oh. Yeah, that was a fun game.
Love that song.
Dude, I love that song. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Who are we kidding?
Gonna get you.
Exactly. And that
The
it was
Spurs gonna get you.
dude, Spurs gonna end your season. Yeah, man, it was terrible. I mean, that's why everybody's here. If you were here, it is just solely to hear us vent about that Spurs game, this team, whatever.
Quite possibly the worst loss of the season.
Yeah, I mean, for all things considered.
Like when you
If-
consider the stakes.
Mm-hmm. If you thought there was anything left to play for after last night, you probably don't. So that's a big reason why it's the worst game of the season. There's been a lot of doozies this year, just like losses that are going to happen as a young team, but last night was rough, all things considered.
Yeah, like I said, quite possibly worst loss of the season. And like I think as fans, it's okay for us to kind of like mail in the rest of the season, you know, like hope mostly gone for the play-in.
Yeah.
The players, on the other hand, they better still be playing like they have a chance at the play-in, because mathematically they do. It's incredibly unlikely. I know we're going to talk more about that later in the show.
Yeah.
But I still want these guys playing like they have something to play for now that we're in March, and a couple weeks we'll be into April. This is what we talked about at the beginning of the season. Even the 5-20 start throughout the season as they started to play better was what's most important for this team is having meaningful games in March and in April. If you're in that locker room, you're on that coaching staff, you're on that team, you need to be talking about how, hey, we're not out of it until we're out of it.
Mm-hmm.
This team comes out and starts mailing these games in like the last 13 games of the season. We're going to need some roster shakeup this offseason. I hope that's not the case, Luke.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Jonathan, before we get into the show here, I want to just do a quick message. You ever seen the segments, Jimmy Kimmel segments, like mean tweets?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be vulnerable with you guys, all right?
A little bully corner time.
Little bully corner, and this is what we're gonna call YouTube comment, mean comments or something like that, right? So I'm gonna call him out by name because he commented it. All right, this is a guy I usually rock with. I'm Skizzy Skiz, you know who you are, and he commented on the last video. I was in the last episode, Jonathan, for exactly I don't even like 5 minutes.
You were in it for
I did the
3
intro.
minutes, dude.
Dude, I was barely in the show because my son had a meltdown and I was being a father. Anyway, and Skizzy Skiz says, Luke got that Joe Dirt facial hair going. LMAO, my dog looked like smuggling the goods into Amway in his minivan. I just want you to know, Skizzy, I read that first. I read the comments first thing in the morning, because our episodes go up middle of the night. I read them first thing in the morning, and I read it, and I was like, oh, "All right, fine, I'll shave my face." I literally went right over to the sink and I shaved my face right there. Didn't go baby face completely, but you guys watching YouTube can tell it took a noticeable haircut. So shout out to Skizzy Skiz and your bullying, because it worked and I shaved and whatever. So thank you.
You look good. You look good, Luke. You look good.
I do appreciate it. Shout out to Skizzy Skiz, I guess, but
So since we're being vulnerable here, I had my own bullying encounter this past weekend. So this past weekend I went to a resort with another couple and another family, you know, my wife and kids and one of my buddies' wife and kids. And we're sitting at the resort and my buddy goes, "If you guys haven't noticed, first of all, I have a receding hairline. Okay? It is.
We're being real vulnerable tonight.
It's I went back. This is a whole story. Like we're also going to get speaking of YouTube comments, we're 100% getting a YouTube comment saying episode starts at whatever timestamp that we actually start talking about the Magic. Listen, folks, it's a long season. We're frustrated. We got things going on in our personal lives that we want to vent about. So we're at the resort and my buddy goes, "Hey man," he's like, "Heather called you bald behind your back." Like my buddy's wife. I'm like, "What do you mean she called me bald?" And she goes, No. I didn't say it like that. So I said to my buddy Joe, I said, "Joe, what did Heather say about my bald head?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I didn't bring gel. I forgot to pack gel." And Heather goes, "Well, it's not like John has hair anyways. He's not going to be wearing gel." And Heather's like, I didn't say that. I didn't say it like that. So I was very calm. And I turned, I said, "All right, Heather, how did you say it?" And she starts to, which tells me that's exactly how it went down. Yeah. There was a comment made about my receding hairline and my lack of hair. So what do? I get home Sunday and I'm looking at Facebook profile photos from like my sophomore year, my junior year, my senior year of high school. I'm trying to see, all right, where was my hairline like it and its prime? Like before it was about to fall off and I didn't even realize it. Like 2010 Dwight Howard. Where was my hairline 2010 Dwight Howard before like the back injury and, you know, all that kind of stuff? It was like a year after I graduated high school that my hairline decided to betray me and start going back. So you know what I've been doing the last few days, Luke? I had a buddy in December. I went to a wedding and I saw one of my friends and he and I both have receding hairlines. And I was like, "Bro, what are we going to do about this?" He's a barber, by the way. He goes, "Listen," he's like, "I've got some clients. They're all going to Turkey for their hair transplants now. Apparently, Istanbul is like the capital of hair transplants. It's much cheaper than you can get it in the United States. So I have literally been watching YouTube vlogs about gentlemen who have flown to Turkey to get hair transplants. And I'm telling my wife, next summer, I'm going to Turkey to get a hair transplant." So that's my bully corner. Yours is your facial hair. Mine is my balding head.
Yeah. In your research, how much does this cost?
It depends on how many grafts you need. So basically what they do is they like draw on, like they're experts at this. They draw on your forehead, like where your hairline would look best. And then they inject needles into the back of your head. They punch holes and they remove the hair grafts. They punch holes in the front of your head where the hair should go. And they place your own hair coming from usually like the back of your head. They call it like the donor area. The back of my head is luscious. It's good to go. The forehead up here, it's thinner than, I don't know. I'm getting my Jalen Suggs, you know, Cole Anthony. Those guys know exactly what I'm going through with the hairline. And they take it and then they implant it into the front of your dome. And then it's like you go through like an ugly duckling phase for like, I don't know, a few months before you start to see like real legit growth. But after like 2 weeks, you can wear a hat. I'm totally fine with wearing a hat 24/7 for a few months for sure, if it means getting my hair back. So that's our bully corner. We let you guys in behind the veil. You know how many times I post like a post-game video after we play a team and I get other teams' fans commenting bald on like the Instagram posts, bro? Like so incredibly disrespectful. And the best part is it's always somebody whose like profile picture is like a cartoon or it's like another NBA player. It's never the actual person, of course. But yeah, that's Bully Corner. Now we're like 12 minutes into this episode and we haven't talked about the Magic.
Yeah, well, episode starts now.
What do you say we do that? Let's go into the state of the Magic. The Magic are 0-1 on the week so far, which brings them to a record of 28-41 on the season. They have the 5th worst record in the league. They're 13th in the Eastern Conference, currently 5 games back of Toronto, who is sitting at 9 in the East. 4 games back of Washington for the final play-in, sitting at 10, 4 games back of Chicago at 11, and 3 games back of Indiana at 12. The Magic have an offensive rating of 111.6, which ranks 25th in the league. They have a defensive rating of 114.3, which ranks 20th in the league. Their overall net rating is negative 2.7, which is 26th in the league. Luke, before the All-Star break, I was keeping like a close eye on like the last 10 games defensive rating, the last 15 games defensive rating, since the beginning of the year defensive rating. And we were always hovering like around like 12, 13, somewhere like in the top, like, or 10, like 9, 10, kind of flirting with the top 10 in defensive rating in some of those windows. The last 10 games after the All-Star break, the Magic's defensive rating is 116.8, which is 22nd in the league. What was one of the things we said had to go right for the Magic after the All-Star break if they were going to make a push? I said like borderline top 5 in defensive rating the rest of the way for them to have a chance. 22nd since the All-Star break is not going to cut it.
No, it's so frustrating, man. Just watching. I mean, you watched the Spurs game last night, and it's like, man, the team just picks and chooses the nights they want to play defense, and it's very frustrating.
Speaking about the injury report now, Jonathan Isaac's still out after he had season-ending adductor surgery. Gary Harris is now questionable for Thursday's game against the Phoenix Suns. He is dealing with right hip flexor soreness. So we should have a good idea tomorrow at 5:30 local time, which for the Magic, that game is going to start at 10. So what is that going to be, like 8:30 our time is when we'll get the injury report? Or daylight savings always screws me up. Are we 3 hours ahead of Phoenix? Are we 2 hours ahead? I don't really know. Tomorrow evening, we should find out. Well, that's the, I guess, dumbest thing I ever could have said. Of course, we'll find out sometime tomorrow whether or not Gary is playing. But just keep your eyes on the injury report tomorrow for updates on Gary Harris and what his status is going to be playing Phoenix, which, hey, first time we're going to play against Terrence Ross in a very, very, very long time. That's going to make me sad, I think. Actually, I know it is.
Yeah, it's going to be weird playing against Terrence, like you said, but like I know that there was a couple games there where he like wasn't getting run. I hope that he gets to play against us, and plays good amount of minutes. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want to see Terrence, put on a little show for us one time, because we're not going to get to watch him very much. And Phoenix, I don't catch many Phoenix games unless they're like nationally televised, and I want to stay up because it's a good matchup or whatever, or they're like on an East Coast trip. But like, I wouldn't hate a little torch lighting. I'm not going to lie to you.
I don't want to see Terrence lighted up against us. Want to just be like, oh man, like your ex-girl shows up at like the party that you're at, she's looking real good, and you're like, oh man, what did I do? That kind of thing. Not that I would know anything about that. I'm a happily married man. Been together with my wife now like 10 and a half years. Very, very happy man. But yeah, fellas out there, you know what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. But yeah, I'm going to be paying attention to the Suns mostly, come postseason time, where we're not glued to the TV watching, what is allegedly supposed to be basketball with the Orlando Magic, and we can actually watch the sport the way that it's supposed to be played in the modern age.
Yeah, and I will add real quick, Terrence Ross so far in a Phoenix jersey in 8 games, 9.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, almost 2 assists. But the big thing, shooting 5.3 attempts from 3 a game, 38%. So shooting well. You surround him, he's got obviously talent around him. Things become a little bit easier.
Good for Terrence. I'm rooting for the Suns to win the championship. Hopefully Kevin Durant's able to come back for the postseason healthy and stay healthy. And I mean, if they stay healthy, I think they have as good of a chance as anybody. So it'll be fun and sad to see Terrence on Thursday night. But let's go ahead and give a shout out to our patrons, and then we'll talk about this Spurs game. So if you haven't heard, we do have a Patreon, which is basically like an online community where you can help financially support the show. Depending on what tier you join at, you can get other benefits like access to our Discord channel, monthly t-shirt giveaways. We also have a monthly exclusive Patreon Zoom where we just hang out with some of our patrons and talk about the Orlando Magic. And then our highest tier, our elite tier, you can also get discounts to Orlando Magic regular season home games. So if any of that would interest you, or hey, you just really like the show and you want to help support us do what we do, you can find us at patreon.com/the6man show. And part of our patrons' benefits is our elite and Hall of Fame tier members. They get shout outs on every single one of our episodes. So I'm going to shout out the Court Cousins, Drew Gooden, Armin, Carson Tula, Norman, Normal, Magic Player History, Julio, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, The Distract, Donkey Punch Dave, It's Not Okay to Say Okiki, Pierre A, Migzors, Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Lil Penny, Eduardo Sanchez, Drum, Danimal, Dutto 15, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Geraldo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Destined for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Time Mr. TV, Joe Rothfuss, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Rican, Shahin 177, Bolby the Don, Himlo Ban Himro, RM Prof 221, Ray Pastrana, Magic Hit 714, Let's Spank, Don't Tank, Soft Taco, Jesse, Fuego Nando, Phantom 72, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, and Bull. His first name is his last name. You can find us and support us at patreon.com/the6man show. Luke, Tuesday night against the Spurs, quite possibly the worst loss of the season. You're on the road against the San Antonio Spurs, who, with Tuesday night's win, they are now 18-50 on the season. They hold the third worst record in the NBA, and their home record is 12-23. On the road, they've been 6-27, kind of irrelevant. In their last 10 now, they are 4-6. Genuinely one of the worst teams in the entire league. It shouldn't have even been a question of whether or not the Magic were going to win this game. And you end up giving up a franchise, not a season, a franchise record 22 three-pointers to the San Antonio Spurs. 22 of 41, good for 53%. And our good friend over at Magic Daily, Orlando Magic Daily, Philip Rossman Reich, he tweeted out, according to NBA.com's tracking stats, the Spurs made 12 of 18 three-pointers with the closest defender 6 feet away, and 9 of 19 with the closest defender 4 to 6 feet away. What that means, Luke, is 37 out of the Spurs' 41 three-point attempts were classified as either open or wide open by the NBA. So I understand that even if you let a team, even if you leave them wide open, right, especially some of the guys on that roster that aren't particularly good three-point shooters, like looking at Jeremy Sohan, for them to shoot 22 of 41, really, really good, even if they're wide open. But the fact that they were, in fact, wide open speaks to the fact that the defense was nowhere near good enough, again, giving the Spurs 132 points. We talked about this on the last episode. The Magic were 1-6 on the year before Tuesday when they gave up 130 points or more. They are now 1-7. They've had 8 games this year where they've given up at least 130 points. 4 of those 8 have come in the 10 games since the All-Star break. The defense is legitimately falling apart.
Yeah, it is. And you, look, like, you just get mad looking at the box score of these dudes that are hitting threes, right? Like, Bates Diop, he was 4 of 6 from 3. This is a guy, you look at his percentage and you're like, wow, he shoots 36.5% from 3. That's not bad. It's not, but he also doesn't even shoot 2 threes a game. Like, this guy doesn't shoot a ton of threes. He plays 21 minutes a game typically. He doesn't shoot a ton of threes. But guess what, Jonathan? If you leave them wide open, they're NBA players. They can figure it out. It's just one of those things, man, where it's like, yes, you can start out the night not guarding the perimeter, maybe being in drop coverage, whatever it might be, but you've got to adjust if they're hitting it. You're daring them to shoot. They're making you pay. adjust. And I just feel like Mosley doesn't know when to adjust sometimes. And it's something we've seen. Like we've already had a team in the Houston Rockets make like 24, 25 threes on us earlier this year, whatever it was. I don't even remember what the number was. But this happens.
The Sacramento Kings also set a franchise record against us.
Yeah, so listen, man, teams will hit threes. They will be on. But I am so tired of people being like, oh, man, they're always hitting threes against us. Why is it always us? And it's like the common denominator is the Magic. At some point, it becomes what you're doing wrong defensively, not, oh, man, they really shot lights out. Like, tip my cap to those guys. I'm not tipping my cap to the guys that are 18 and 50 on the year. These guys got nothing left to play for statistically but reps. They're out. Their front office was pissed last night that they beat us. They couldn't believe it, I'm sure. So in a game where the Magic are favored by 7+ points once Franz Wagner gets ruled as a go, you were like a 5-point favorite, gets bumped up to 7+. Like, nobody thought you were going to lose this game besides delusional Spurs fans that might have thought they could win the game. It's a very frustrating night, man. You look down the list, Paolo Banchero, like 3 turnovers, I think. Yeah, 3 turnovers. But that wasn't necessarily what bothered me. What bothered me is that he had 0 assists. I get he had 27 points. He was a -20. No defense. Super frustrating, man. Like, from your guys like Paolo that need to just put the team on his back. He's had a lot of great moments recently, but these are the games where you come in and you can't just contribute in one single fashion. He scores 27, like I said, but 3 turnovers, 0 assists is just inexcusable for a guy that's supposed to be a playmaker for his size. He played 32 minutes. It really was frustrating to watch last night, man. And I'll never get over losing. Like, I hate losing. Just being a competitive person, and I know you get that too. And it's like in a game where you're supposed to smoke this team in San Antonio, still supposed to smoke them because you're the better team. Everybody knows it. And you just lay down and you lose in the most frustrating way possible. You lose to literally wide open jumpers. That's the reason you lost. You play fine in terms of your turnovers, 9 turnovers. You let them have 39 assists because they can't miss, but you have 24 assists. Like, you're never going to win with a 15 assist differential. Super frustrating, man. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is, and I guess these guys are ready for the season to be over because that's what it felt like.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up. So even if, like, let's say, Paolo was passing the ball, guys just weren't knocking down shots. Last game, Paolo had 1 potential assist, so it wasn't like he was putting teammates in a position to score baskets. And I'm not doing this to like turn this into like a crap on Paolo fest. Like, Paolo was awesome. Is it a little bit frustrating that didn't have more assists? Sure, but 27 points, 11 of 21 from the floor, 2 or 4 from the 3-point line, 3 of 5 from the free throw line, added 6 rebounds and a block. Paolo was the Magic's best player on Tuesday night, like by far and away. But just like collectively as a unit, the defense wasn't good enough. You mentioned Paolo Banchero with the -20. Franz was a -24. Wendell was a -14. Gary a -7. Markelle a -11. And Franz absolutely not 100%, but give the kid credit for trying to play through the injury and play through pain and be there for his teammates. Apart from that spurt that he had to start the third quarter, where it was like 3 straight baskets, shot 5 of 12 from the floor. So if you take away those 3 made baskets, he was 2 of 9. So really not a great offensive night for Franz. But again, I just give him credit for playing through the injury Wendell, decent night, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 15. He was 1 of 6 from behind the arc. You want to see him shoot the ball a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And the Magic, 10 of 29 from the three-point line, 34% from three. When a team is taking 41 threes and hitting them at a 53% clip, you're not going to keep up with them. And to, I guess, Jamal Mosley's credit, or I kind of like in defense of Jamal Mosley, the way the Magic are covering the three-point line, they've been doing this all year long. We are one of the better teams in the NBA in terms of opponents' three-point field goal percentage, but on nights where you just don't have it, it bites you, and it bites you really, really hard. Now, we were getting by, you had a healthy Franz Wagner. You had Wendell Carter Jr. was healthy. Who knows what is going on with him? He's come back and he's looked good, but he's been in and out of the lineup all year long. Jalen Suggs is a guy that we know gets beat up. Now you have no Jonathan Isaac. That's Moritz Wagner and Bol Bol both getting more minutes. Moritz Wagner and Bol Bol are absolutely defensive liabilities. Bol Bol had like a 5-minute stretch last night where he left his man, hit a corner three, he got turned around, left his man on the wing, another wide open three, and then like 2 minutes later, he had another three hit right in his face. And I think he got dunked on in that stretch as well. Like Bol Bol defensively is a complete zero. And when he's playing 16 minutes and giving you 6.6 rebounds, you're really just not getting enough from Bol Bol in that aspect. But when your bench unit is Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Mo Wagner, Bol Bol, and then throw one of the starters in there, Cole Anthony gives good effort on that end, but is just limited by his size. Jalen Suggs, obviously, defensive stud, very obviously banged up at times, hits the ground 57 times a game. And then Mo Wagner and Bol Bol can't guard anyone to save their lives. So when a third of your lineup is either limited defensively or is just flat out horrible defensively, your defense is not going to be very good. Like when we want to talk about plus defenders, Franz Wagner, healthy plus defender. Paolo Banchero, I would probably lean towards yes, plus defender. Jury is still kind of out in that regard as effort kind of comes and goes. Wendell Carter, plus defender. Gary Harris, plus defender. Markelle Fultz, plus defender. When you break that lineup, and even they were not good defensively last night. 37 of 41 attempts from behind the arc, either open or wide open. You're just not trying. Or you're in the wrong spot. I know they're trying to help heavy at the rim and get these guys to spray out to three-point shooters, and then the idea is to recover and contest those. But if you're not getting out to contest those, Jamal's either got to just light these guys up in a huddle or switch the scheme. Like, look, just help a little bit less. We're not getting out to these guys as quickly as we need to, and they're destroying you from behind the arc. It was almost like they were waiting for San Antonio to start missing, and it never came. And in the games where we've waited for other teams to start missing, like Houston, to your point, 24 threes. Like Sacramento, I think it was 23 threes. Like San Antonio, 22 threes. When we're waiting for teams to start missing, to me, that's not an adjustment. Like you're waiting on the law of averages, which I kind of understand strategy to a certain extent. But at some point, you just got to get up into your man, make them uncomfortable, get them off the three-point line. Make them get to the rim and beat you there, because they were killing us from the three-point line.
Yeah.
And just all context included, the stakes, the team that we played, the way that we played, this was the worst loss of the season.
No doubt. And to add to that, too, you're talking about like waiting for guys to miss. It just all goes back to what I was saying, which was like, if these guys are wide open, man, like they're NBA players, they're going to figure it out. And they are very, very capable, even at the bad end of three-point shooters. And the NBA, they are very capable of getting in a rhythm to the point where that basket looks like an ocean to them, and they're able to make it from anywhere. You're just giving them more confidence as each three goes in. There's no way, I hope, that they weren't just Mosley was just sitting there like, well, they'll start missing eventually. It's like, there's no way. I hope not. For his sake, if that is the case, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of people coming at Mose for the coaching last night. Now, I'm not ready to dismiss him on any account based off of that game and the ways that, this team can let up on threes this year. I know what you're saying statistically, but like they give up these games though that are just ridiculous volume from three. And when you're not a 3-point shooting team, it's just not a smart approach. You can't combat them shooting that many threes. If it's a shootout, it's different. If they're letting up threes, you're going at it back and forth, whatever. But we've talked about this team in shootouts. They stink. They're just too young. They've not developed in their shooting. There's no hope for the team in a shootout by any means. Maybe every now and then it'll go their way, but most times it's not going to. And they just let San Antonio do whatever they wanted from their perimeter. It was shooting practice. So, San Antonio was laughing in the locker room about it after the game, and that's what pisses me off, like how open and how much they were hitting.
Just to give a little bit more context, so the Magic are 28th in opponent 3-point attempts per game. They give up the third most attempts in the league. But in terms of percentage, they're 10th in the league at 35%. San Antonio is sitting there dead last at 39. They give up basically 40% 3-point shooting on a nightly basis. I would be irate.
Didn't capitalize on that.
Sad person. The Magic certainly didn't capitalize. They shot 34% from three in this game. But the Magic, they give up a ton of threes, but for whatever reason, they usually fare pretty well in terms of like opponent 3-point percentage.
That is the part that pisses me off the most. Is like it's there. The ability is there, but some nights they just don't want to do it. And with the stakes as high as they were, I don't think this team thinks there's a chance of the play-in. Based on what we saw last night, that didn't look like a team that thought they could make the play-in like they've been talking about in press conferences. They're thinking like me. It's over.
Every interview,
what are they talking about, Jonathan? Want to make the play-in. We need to lock up on defense, not try to win the game with one shot on the offensive end. We hear it every single game, but I don't think they believe it. I don't think that they could believe they could make the play-in. And that's just all there is to it, man. Maybe they did a week or two ago, but that is not a team. If that's what they look like, if they're urgent to try to make a play and make a postseason push, I didn't see it last night. So it's one game. The stats show this team is very good, and that's against a 3-point, shot in terms of teams missing against them and causing misses and doing the right things and scrambling correctly, whatever it is. But like I said, that is exactly what makes last night so frustrating. This team's capable of a lot, man, and they just can't pick and choose. Like, you're not that good. You're young and you have a lot of potential, but you're not good enough to just take a night off and still win the game.
You know who doesn't take a night off? Papa John's, folks.
Papa.
Don't forget the day after every Magic victory. Who knows when we will get another one of those? There's only 13 games left in the season. Do yourself a favor and take advantage of code MAGICWIN. So the day after every Magic victory, you can get 50% off your online order from Papa John's with code MAGICWIN. Unless you live near the Suncoast Boulevard Papa John's here in Homosassa, apparently they hate good basketball and they don't accept my Magic Win. I'm gonna have my people call Papa John's people and figure out, Papa John, what is going on here that you're not accepting my code? I want to give you my money. I want to eat that delicious, delicious pizza, but you're not accepting my deal, and I refuse to pay full price the day after Magic wins because, again, you get 50% off your online order from Papa John's the day after Magic victories with code MAGICWIN. Luke, I want to talk about something that Kevin and I had the pleasure of discussing on the last episode.
Yeah.
Is the season over? And you listened to the episode. I know that you heard Kevin's egregious 25%. We've talked about that. We've scolded him about it. Where were you before the Spurs game, and where are you now?
Before the Spurs game, I was at, and I think I might have texted this, I don't remember, but I remember in the car thinking, if this was me, where am I putting this percentage? I about had to stop the car when Kevin said 25%, by the way. Love this guy, and he's very optimistic, and that's just his personality, and I'm not. So I'm optimistic in a lot of things in life, not the Magic. But all that to say, he said that. You said your percentage. I think you said maybe 10, and then as the episode went on, you were like, maybe it's less than 10. Maybe it's closer to 5. Before the Spurs game, I was at 2%. Undoubtedly 2%. After the Spurs game, I'm at 1%. You've got a 1% chance in my book.
I'm probably there.
Yeah, I mean, I just, one game isn't, one game isn't the end all be all, but this you've only got so many games left. And I was already at 2%. I was already very low. I've been low for the last 2 weeks in terms of this. I was low at All-Star break. We were lining up. We had the conversation, but it just never, because the tough thing is you're not just having to worry about one team. You have multiple teams in front of you that all have to be terrible while you have to be incredible. And then, yeah, if there was any doubt, last night showed us that this team is not going to finish this with a bang. Maybe it'll be a wake-up call. I've kind of got a benchmark, Jonathan. I want to see this team win 35 games. I want to go 7-5. What, there's 12 games left, right?
13.
So I want to go 7-6. And it shouldn't be impossible by any means. I don't think that gets us in the plan. This is solely for what I want to see the team do. I'd love to see us hit 35 after being at 22 last year. 13 wins is a huge improvement. Then you move on to the offseason. But yeah, that's kind of where I want to see the team get, is to that 35 win mark. That would be nice for me.
That would be nice. I just I don't even want to sit here and do predictions anymore. I'm at the point where I'm like, you guys need to play hard, play winning basketball, play what you say and what you claim to be Magic basketball. And as long as they do that, I'm kind of good with wherever the results are. I'm confident that if they do that, wins will come. But because of the fact that I do think the Magic are virtually eliminated from the play-in discussion, I'm not going to live and die with every result of these games. What I am going to live and die by is the way that they play. Had they played really well and San Antonio also played really well and we lost, I would have been pissed, but I would have eventually been okay, I guess, you just, every team has their night. People that were trying to make that excuse last night as I'm upset and annoyed about this win, people that are trying to excuse oh, San Antonio just got hot. I don't care how hot you get when you're giving up 90% or upwards. No, I guess that is about 90%. 90% of your 3-point looks are either open or wide open. I don't care about your context. That is completely inexcusable. I will never be cool with that. But the rest of the way, if they just play the way that they should, I'm not going to get hung up on wins and losses, because we're really at the point here now where the wins and losses don't matter. You're too far behind, and you're not going to go on some crazy 11-2 run to end the season. No. To me, that's completely out of the question. I would love to be surprised, but I highly doubt it. Mm-hmm. So you're too far back to catch the play-in. You're too far away to get better lottery odds. So essentially, the results don't matter the rest of the way. It's the way that this team continues to play. That's what I'm most interested in. I know that kind of sounds weird, I don't care if we win, I don't care if we lose kind of thing. It doesn't matter if we win, if we lose kind of thing. I want this team to play like they have something to play for, because if we have the group of guys in that locker room that we think we do, they're not going to pack it in with 13 games to go. This team was exponentially worse last year, and we saw them play hard all the way until game 82. So I expect the same thing out of this team. But to me, the rest of the season is show me that you are about what you say you're about. If you do that, I'll go into the summer happy. I'll probably be good with whatever the lottery results are. If we don't get a high pick, it'll sting for a little bit, but I'll be you know what? We've already got a really good group. We're going to add 1 or 2 more guys to that, and we're going to keep it cooking here. And next year will be a much better season. We'll probably add some shooting, maybe a little bit of veteran help in free agency. I don't know. but I'll be able to sleep soundly throughout the offseason. If this team comes out and plays the way that they've played the last 10 games, if they do that for the last 13 games, we're going to have more question marks heading into the offseason than perhaps we thought.
Yeah.
Looking at our last 10, we're 4-6 in our last 10. I know you're a win away from that being 500 basketball, and we've been playing 500 basketball for, the better part of, the season here. But I look at, you're giving up 132 points to San Antonio. Yeah, you had a great overtime win against Miami, but you almost blew that game. You gave up 131 to the Jazz, 134 to Milwaukee. You blew the game against Portland. You barely beat a Charlotte team that you should have blew out the water. Then you lose the game before that. You lose by 22 to Milwaukee. You give up 139 points. Paolo goes crazy in the second half against New Orleans. You beat them. You lose a game at home versus New Orleans that you desperately needed to win. And the first game after the All-Star break, you barely beat a Detroit Pistons team with no Cade Cunningham that you should have absolutely smoked. So excuse me if I'm not Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows coming out of my backside from what we've seen since the All-Star break. Some people are going to hear me say, like, if we don't play well these last 13 games, that we have, like, more questions than maybe we thought a couple weeks ago. But that's, at that point, if we suck the next 13 games, that's 23 games of overwhelming suckage. That's the last quarter of the season of sucking. I'm not going to be super as confident as I was a few weeks ago if we suck the last quarter of the season leading into next year. Like, I'm going to want to see some shakeup in the offseason if we can't find a way to get it together these last 13 games.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Tankathon.
Tank it.
So I'm going to run the simulation here. We're only going to run this once. And the Magic end up with the 6th and the 8th pick. I would still be good with that. I will be able to sleep at night with that result. Detroit was number 1, Houston number 2, Charlotte number 3, Portland number 4, San Antonio number 5, Magic number 6, Indiana 7, Chicago 8, which the Magic would get that pick in that case.
I got a question for you. The other day, I did just a random, my one-day spin. I've been doing those. Did a one-day spin the other day, and the scenario that I had was Orlando gets the 3rd pick, but Chicago keeps at 4. You're walking away cool with that?
If it was one spot higher, if we were 2 and Chicago was 3, I'd be good with that. 3, I'm not so sure of. Now, I'm hearing a lot of rumblings about Brandon Miller potentially overtaking Scoot Henderson as the number 2 prospect in this draft. I haven't watched enough of either of those guys just yet to give my opinion strongly one way or the other. Right now, I'll trust the draft pundits. But the Brandon Miller thing, first of all, I don't understand. For those of you that are unaware of what happened, Darius Miles and I think one other, I don't know if it was another Alabama teammate, but one other individual murdered a young woman in Tuscaloosa a couple months ago now. And it turns out that Brandon Miller brought the murder weapon to the scene of the murder. And then I believe it was Darius Miles that killed the young woman. Brandon Miller was not arrested. He's not been charged. He wasn't even suspended for a single game of Alabama basketball. I know nothing about the young man. I'm just strictly speaking about laws. I don't know how you bring your weapon, give it to someone else, and then they use it to kill someone. How all of that works and you just kind of get away like scot-free, especially when you're representing a college basketball program. It's just a horrible look on Alabama. And I have real questions, right or wrong. I honestly don't know. I don't know enough about the situation to really speak one way or the other. Just given the Magic's history, given what this front office values. Guys, high character, no drama, kind of staying out of harm's way and out of trouble. I have my doubts about whether or not the Magic would draft Brandon Miller, even if he was the best player available.
I think that they would, if they draft Brandon Miller. I genuinely think that it just means that they did enough digging of their own to confirm what Alabama has uncovered already. Alabama, he played right shortly after this whole thing. And I think either there's a few different options for Brandon Miller and what are his mentality. He is either thinks he did nothing wrong and he sleeps perfectly fine at night. He balls out. I mean, he's an incredible basketball player. We won't get that twisted. We know that. But he either doesn't think he did anything wrong, little bit of sociopathic tendencies maybe, to be able to ball out if this is like something you actually did and you think you did something wrong, you got away. Like, I don't know. But it is crazy to me that he played shortly after. They sent him to a press conference in the SEC tournament. And they've got the whole thing down. He's PR trained very rigidly, to the point where if there's any type of leading question about anything to do with it, they say he just says no comment. And that's, he just moves on. So I would be very surprised. But like I said, it would be, if he gets picked up. And it is hard for me to be like, is this because Alabama is the number one overall seed in the tournament? Like, they are a very good basketball team. Or is it like they're 29-5, which is crazy and really good, and they're a great team. But I just wonder if things would be a little bit different if he maybe wasn't so great at basketball, and they would have dismissed him just because it's like something that distracts the team. So clearly they've already, they made their bed, they're laying in it. And we'll see what happens come draft time. Brandon Miller, you look at his stats, dude, he is crazy on the court. He is 7.5 threes a game, 40% from three, 19.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He's nuts, but he's 6'9" as well. So I don't know, man. Great player. I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to him in the draft, and with him and Scoot, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Brandon Miller. He's consensus top 5 and maybe top 3 after reports are saying that he's even in the 2 discussion. But I just wonder if we get to draft time and front offices start doing some digging, and all of a sudden this consensus top 3 pick falls out of the top 5. I wouldn't be shocked. But at the same time, Alabama's playing this so confidently, I genuinely don't know. It's pretty crazy.
That's how I feel too. I just feel like I don't know enough about the situation to really have like a strong opinion. Mm-hmm. I do find it weird that they were like as a college athlete, you like very obviously wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. And you have such a privilege, playing at that high of a level. You cannot put yourself in those kinds of situations. So I'm surprised like he didn't serve like one, game for like, conduct that was like detrimental to the team. If he doesn't bring that gun, who knows what happens?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say like Brandon Miller killed that young woman. Obviously not. Like Darius Miles and that other gentleman are responsible for their own actions. But it is just a crazy situation. We'll probably never know all the details. But if the Magic are in position to draft him and they don't, that will tell me probably everything that I need to know.
Yeah, like if they have the 3rd pick and he's still on the board and he doesn't get picked, we know enough.
They have like the 5th pick and they pass him at 5.
Yeah, and there's and real quick here and we'll wrap up, but there's a CBS college basketball podcast called Eye on College Basketball that I'll listen to from time to time. And they did a whole piece about, about Brandon Miller here recently. And the one thing that they said was like, if there clearly wasn't a team rule, but there needs to be a team rule about guns. Like just in general, carrying in your car, like it is just very odd that there was, like you said, not even a team conduct one game. I don't think those dudes should be, like, if what we have heard is the case and it's true and we've seen all we've seen as far as evidence goes, I don't think he should be playing right now. I think he should have served a suspension for the rest of the year. So I don't know. It's just crazy to me. And now Alabama has a chance, a very real chance. They got a pretty easy region in March Madness compared to the other 1 seeds. It's a very real possibility Brandon Miller gets a championship this year in Alabama. It's one of the, I just got chills thinking about like how crazy it is that all of that has transpired. He could win a championship, and then in 20 years there's a documentary about that night, what happened, how it unfolded, and oh, by the way, he went on to win a championship that same year while playing at a high level and then got drafted top 2 or 3 in the NBA draft. It's crazy.
It is wild, and there's a lot of like areas, like shades of gray here that we like. I'm not going to pretend I can fill in those kind of voids. Like, if he was within like his like legal rights, like morally speaking, or whatnot, carrying a gun, I completely understand that. Giving your gun to your buddy who then takes it and murders somebody, like, that is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, and reports say that he knew that there was an altercation. And hey, bring me my gun. So,
well, the thing is, though, if you are showing up to an altercation with a weapon, it is your weapon. That is your responsibility. If push comes to shove and you do need to intervene to save someone's life, it's your weapon. That's your responsibility. I'm not going to go, oh, hey, you're in danger. You're about to die. Actually, I'm going to take the time to hand you the gun and you can kind of take care of whatever is going on. If you're in imminent danger, you don't have that kind of time, So this could be a conversation for another hour. So we're going to take this opportunity and wrap it up here. Again, to finish out the week, the Magic play the Suns on Thursday, the Clippers in LA on Saturday. That game's at 3:00 Eastern, and then they end the week Sunday at the Los Angeles Lakers. That game is going to be a 9:30 tip-off. That is going to do it for this episode, though. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You guys have been listening to The Sixth Man Show. We will catch you guys next time. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!